We go straight to the White House now to spend time with Admiral John Kirby, the Strategic Communications Coordinator for the National Security Council. Admiral, it's good to see you. Welcome back to Bloomberg. What is the administration first and foremost doing to find Americans who are missing or may in fact be held hostage tonight in Gaza?
Closely coordinating with Israeli counterparts to try to get as much information as we can from them about their knowledge of the hostage situation. We recognize that it's not just Americans that are being held hostage, but obviously many Israelis as well, and from people from other countries are most likely in that mix. So it's a complex picture. It's also a war zone, and Hamas has done this before. This is part of their playbook to take hostages and use them as negotiating chips. They'll probably move them around. So it's going to be difficult to get much dexterity here in these early hours about where they are, who exactly is holding them, and in what conditions.
What's the status of conversations between the United States, Admiral, with Qatar? We do know that Qatar is potentially going to be working out a dialogue with Hamas to try to release these hostages. But at the same time, are you exerting pressure on Qatar, given the fact that they are housing Hamas leaders?
Well, we know that Hamas has access here to Hamas. That Qatar has access to Hamas that we certainly don't have, and the Israelis don't have. And so, to the degree that Qatar can play a useful role here, we're going to encourage that. Obviously, they've got a way to have dialogue and conversations. So we'll keep in close touch with our Qatari counterparts to glean whatever information they can find and can provide to us. We want to obviously get these people released. Hamas should release them now, immediately. Short of that, we're going to have to work closely together to try to figure out where they are and how we can affect their delivery from being hostages.
Curious as well, Admiral, what is the administration doing to reach out to Americans who might be stuck in Israel who are trying to get out of the country tonight?
Well, I don't. First of all, there's a lot of Americans there in Israel, as you might imagine, many dual nationals. The State Department is open for business and providing consular access to any Americans that have questions about either staying in Israel or leaving Israel. They can go to the embassy. They can get online. They can get information in context that they would leave. We're updating that information every day. I would remind those Americans who do want to leave, the airport of Ben Gurion is still operating. Commercial flights are still coming in and out. There are still open ground routes out of Israel. But we also have to know that many Americans that live there, they don't want to leave. Israel is their home as well. They have family, sure. They have friends there. They have businesses, colleagues that they don't want to leave. So we're not tracking right now an immense demand signal by thousands and thousands of Americans who want to leave.
The U.S. continues to say that does not have direct evidence that implicates Iran very directly with this. But we had Minister Ron Dermer on Bloomberg earlier this week, and he said it is now their working condition that there is evidence out there that directly implicates Iran. Is Israel sharing that intelligence with the White House?
I won't talk about the intelligence picture or the status of specific intel sharing between us and Israel. We have a very robust intelligence sharing arrangement with Israel, which continues and obviously will be deepened here in the coming days and weeks. All I can tell you is that we have not seen specific evidence that links Iran to these particular attacks. Obviously, they're complicit because they have supported Hamas for so many years, but just no specific intelligence with respect to these attacks that I can speak to.
So does that mean that Israel and the United States are working under different conditions?
Again, I'm not going to speak about the intel sharing arrangement or the specifics here. Our Israeli counterparts are looking at the intel picture as well, as you would expect they would. They can speak to what they've discovered or not discovered. All I can tell you is we have seen no specific evidence.
We heard from President Biden today at the White House. Admiral, we're going to give our viewers a chance to hear what he said and would love to ask you a question about that. Here he is.
We're surging additional military assistance, including ammunition and interceptors, to replenish Iron Dome. We're going to make sure that Israel does not run out of these critical assets. When Congress returns, we're going to ask them to take urgent action to fund the national security requirements of our critical partners.
Admiral, when we consider surging military assistance, we're of course thinking as well about the Gerald Ford carrier strike group that is steaming its way toward Israel right now. And there were some comments today from President Erdogan of Turkey. He said in a news conference, "What is the U.S. aircraft carrier doing in Israel?" He went on to say it is going to shoot around Gaza and cause a very serious massacre. You can respond to that how you like, but I wonder if we could be specific here about the role that the Gerald Ford strike group is going to play in this fight for Israel.
The principal role of moving that carrier strike group into the eastern Mediterranean is one of deterrence, to send a strong signal to any other actor, any other group, any other nation state that's hostile to Israel, that if you're thinking about getting involved in here, if you're thinking about escalating this war, this conflict, don't do it, as the president said. We have significant national security interests in the region. We have a robust military presence that is now more robust than it was yesterday, and the president, as commander-in-chief, is going to do what he has to do to look after those national security interests. I'm not going to speculate about future military operations one way or another. There's absolutely no intention, no plan to put American boots on the ground in this conflict in Israel. But we do have serious national security interests that we have to make sure that we have the options to protect if we need to.
But what is your response to Erdogan? This is a NATO ally to the United States that's saying that the U.S. sending that warship more east in the Mediterranean is going to cause, quote, massacres in Gaza.
That carrier strike group that is in the eastern Med right now is there to deter any escalation of the conflict beyond where it is right now. That's my response to President Erdogan.